Cracking guys, Nick here from Watt Health, co-founder and chiropractor at Watt Health in Southampton. I was going to talk you through and show you my pre-leg day in the gym workout. Essentially the warm-up phase, what we call the prehabilitation phase for my leg day to try and minimize the chance of getting back pain. I'm very hypermobile, so my thoracic spine is very mobile. I'm quite bendy generally, so I have to try and stabilize all the joints of my spine before I do any sort of heavy weights. So the way I do that is I'll do some hip stabilization work, as well as some anterior hip flexibility work, so my hip flexors in particular. I'll also do some hamstring activation, glute activation, and core activation. So I'm going to show you some ways in which you can do that to really pump yourself up and get yourself going for a leg workout. Things like squats, deadlifts, Bulgarian splits, hack squats, whatever it may be. It's a really nice way of building up those muscles and getting you warm, but also getting you supple to get the depth of squat. Particularly if you do suffer from hip impingement or some anterior or frontal hip pain through here into the front of the thigh. But also if you experience back pain, if you're doing sort of either hyperextension or hyperflexion in your squat or in your any particular movement involving the hips and lower limb. So I hope you enjoy taking a look and taking an insight into my way of warming up for a leg day. So first and foremost, I'll do a bit of cross trainer. I usually just do about 5 minutes on here on relatively high resistance. I usually go about level 40 on here, which seems quite a good resistance, gets the thighs burning a little bit, gets that heart rate up, which is important. During a leg day, I like to try and keep the heart rate up, so not allowing it to drop too much. Obviously having adequate rest in between sets, for no longer than 20-30 seconds. Trying to keep it going. So just 5 minutes worth on here. Really get that blood pumping. Also kicks the hamstrings in, gets the hip extensors going like your glutes. Get those nice breath cycles through. So good resistance, nothing too much. Say you've got a leg day ahead. So essentially, you want to just get that blood in those muscles, wake them up a little bit. Nice bit of movement. Also a nice fluid movement that's non-gravitational, unlike the treadmill or a run. The spin bike is adequate as well. Sometimes I'll get on the rower, get those legs going as well. That's the warm-up phase. Another 3 minutes on this. After your 5 minutes on the cross trainer, got these bands out, loop band. Available from Amazon. This one's by Core Zone. I'm out of breath from that cross trainer. Brilliant. Core Zone, this is a heavy band, so you can get them from extra light, medium, heavy, extra heavy. They usually come in sets of 4 or 5. They're really good. About, I think for these 5, they're about a tenner. Well worth it, good solid investment, because a lot of what I do, a lot of good core prehabilitation, but also some actual exercises are really, really good to buy some of these. Because they're really good for getting those muscles really activated before you start training or even during your training. So this one, just some static glute bridges, lying on the floor, lying your back. This is a good glute activator. If you have your feet too close together and up, it's quite hamstring dominant there. If you push your legs outwards, it activates the lateral rotators of the hip, of the glutes, the glute medius particularly. And we're just gonna squeeze up. We're gonna hold that position there, pushing the knees outwards as you come up. And hold it there, a couple of seconds, come back down. And all the way up, remember to breathe. And up. So on and so forth. We're going to go 12 repetitions. So on the other one, I go for a clamshell exercise. We're gonna make sure your hips, knees, ankles and shoulders are all straight in a good plane line. The common fault is to allow this to happen. That gets no glute activation at all. It's mostly sort of side of your quads here, sort of vastus lateralis, as opposed to anything else. Whereas here, you can be really isolated into the glute. Keeping that all nice and straight. You're going to pivot on your heels and you're going to come up. I'm going to hold for 2 seconds. I'm going to come back down. And we're up, back down, up, back down. And just keep repeating that. And we do that on both sides. Nice and simple, nice and controlled. Just gets everything nice and activated. Next on the list is monster walks. Again, good glute activation exercise. Hope you can hear me from over there. Good glute activation exercise. We're going to go into like a little bit of sort of athletic posture, as we call it, sort of soft knees, in that kind of semi-squat position. And what we're going to do is literally have the band to tension. So this green band here again, have it to tension. So you feel like something's already working in the side of your hips here. And you're going to keep yourself nice and tight in here. And you're just literally going to walk straight forward, trying to keep the knees going over that sort of third toe kind of area, but obviously keeping it behind the third toe. You don't want to shear your knees forward. So then again through here, and we're going to do about 7 or 8 on each leg, walking through, 6, 7, that's all I've got space for here. And we do up and down 5 times. Keeping that nice and solid, keep all this nice and tight through here. Next one I'm going to show you is a waiter's bow exercise. So you may not be able to see this, but I've got a band attached to the bottom of the radiator here. You may be better off using the bottom of a squat rack, something that's a little bit more solid. This is quite good because I know how this has been plumbed in, so it's going to be alright. So use like the bottom something that's really fixed, otherwise we'll just follow you because you want to use one of these big monster bands to do this, or you don't have to do that, you can just use normal body weight. But for the purpose of this exercise, I've got this around my waist, in this position here, and it's pulling me backwards. So as I drop forwards, I want to keep those hamstrings stretched. Keep the back nice and straight, and I drive forward and up. Squeezing the glutes, come back down, get stretching the hamstrings, back up, and down, slowly, back up. We're getting here hamstring activation, we're getting glute activation, and we're getting a hip hinge. So it's training you to push those hips back when you go to squat, rather than that common fault of coming forward and running the risk of blowing a disc in your low back, which is the last thing you want, especially with weight on your back. It's not going to be nice if you feel that disc go. And back through, squeezing up, drop. We do set tail knees, back. Feel that hamstring stretch, keep the legs a little bit locked. It's kind of like a deadlift mechanism if you think about it. Up, got the bar there, up, keep that nice and straight. Again, set 10, squeeze up. From there, we're going to do some internal mobilisation of the hip capsule. So we're going to take that out to tension. We've got the band in the groin here. Blokes, watch out for the nether regions, obviously. We're going to bring that leg forward. So it's in this position here, okay? It's in that kind of figure 4 position if you're lying on your back. And this band is going to be pulling your hip joint back into the capsule. So imagine the ball and socket joint of your hip, it's going to pulling it back into it, so it's going to increase that range of motion through your hips so you get a deeper squat. You're going to pull it out to tension, so you feel a little bit of tension in the actual sort of hip socket here in the groin. You're going to push down into the hip capsule, pushing downwards, okay? So getting that good push through. Imagine sort of your femur bone, your thigh bone coming up through the back of your bum cheek, all the way up here, heading towards the ceiling. And all you're going to do from there is just going to lean and find those little pockets, like there. Feels like something's going to burst out of my bum cheek here. Not the stuff you'd expect. I'm just going to work through here, Gets a nice, the sort of more sore and tight it feels, the more it needs it. So you just hold in that position, trying to keep your back straight, hold in that position, and just even just hang out there for sort of 30 seconds, just catching those little corners. If your leg starts to go numb and tingle, ease off, because you've got the sciatic nerve in that area. Could be your piriformis just tightening around it. So just work into that sort of time frame. You may start to notice that if you are particularly tight in the piriformis muscle, which is a deep glute muscle. And you're going to repeat that on both sides. Really nice one. You can even do a test, retest on that. So you can do like a squat before and a squat after. You can really get some nice depth through that squat if you get those hips moving. Also, before I do a leg workout, I like to get my core fired up. So a lot of the exercises that I've already shown you, the band work, the glute work, the hamstring work, that is all working the core anyway, because they're all kind of all linked in that area towards the hip. But I like to do some core isolation exercise as well. So I like to do planks and side planks particularly to get that kind of the internal obliques, the transverse abdominis muscles to really start firing up to protect my spine. The deep muscles of the spine are really important to keep the actual vertebra really safe and stop what's called shear forces going through them, particularly as you get fatigued. So if these muscles are firing, then it's only a good thing before you do your leg workout. So I like to do a normal plank, a generic plank. So weight on the sort of elbows here, not sagging in, not too far up, in the middle. Get that core tight, keep the ribs tucked in. And I do 30 seconds to a minute often. So I'll probably do, for the case of this, probably do 2 lots of a minute. Just try and really get those core fired up, get it warmed up, and get it ready to have some heavy weight on the back and in the front of it. Holding through here. Really kind of keep that tight. Don't let that sag happen. Keep that really tight in the core here. You can also change the leg orientation depending how difficult you want it to be. So sometimes we like to hold a wide one, but I like to keep it nice and tight in here. Keep that core nice and solid. Good. And the side plank. In this position here, we're going to make sure when we come up onto the elbow, we keep this nice and tight through the hips as well. It's really common for people to look on the side on to do a sort of plank like this, and everything kind of sags down. You want to try and keep everything nice and upright and taut. Trying to keep that spine nice and straight. Thrust the hips forward slightly. Keep that tight through here. Weight on the elbow. We're going to often do 20 to 30 seconds on each side for this one. Repeat it a couple of times. And repeat that the other side. And drive up, hold. Don't allow that to happen. Keep nice and tight through here. Nice and tight through the core. And again, 20 to 30 seconds a couple of times. Fires you right up. And you're ready to go. Do your squats and your deadlifts. Everything's nice and ready, nice and supple. Trying to get that hip hinge ready, and especially for the squat as well, coming down, keep that back nice and straight. Common pitfalls for a squat, they include coming forward too much with it, knee shearing as well, that can really smoke your knees out. So if we can make sure that we've got this kind of drop back in the pelvis, so we're going to be nice and tight through here, these aren't coming forward, tibias should stay nice and straight as you come back, and as you're up and through, and up, and dropping, and through, and just making sure that back stays nice and straight, allow the hips to just drop back, rather than this that you see quite a bit. That's going to be a damaged back in no time. Hi guys, hope you enjoyed the leg day warm up. Have a little go at it, see what you feel about it, see how it gets on with your particular routine, particularly if you sort of team up squats, deadlifts, lunges, and likes thereof. Then be a good little warm up for you. It gets everything going, core, hips, hamstrings, quads, everything gets burned up and gets ready to go, gets fired. So have a little go at it, let me know how you get on. Obviously, write in the comment section, and don't forget to subscribe to the What Health YouTube channel. Thanks.